I have here the Icon 52-piece quarter-inch set and the Kobalt 50-piece quarter-inch set. These are two very popular things. This is usually pitched as the best alternative to this, and they're both super compact, and I use this one all the time. I just picked this one up. First big difference, this is now $80 because I keep raising the price. This is about 30 bucks. You can usually get it on sale for about $5 cheaper though, so 25 to 30 versus 80. And this does go on sale every now and then, but still is usually over 60 bucks these days. So let's go and just get a nice little overview of these first and see some differences. One thing off the bat is this just has regular little bit holders versus this has this nice little pop-up thing, which is incredibly easy to grab the bits out of. They're like perfectly fit in there versus these are not difficult, but you know, can't do it with one hand. And you got to take the whole thing out. It's kind of more annoying. But otherwise, everything's pretty similar. This has a little bit fewer sockets, I believe. This has more and some better ones I'll get into in a second. Screwdrivers are different. Ratchet is quite different. But yeah, let's break it down a little further. Let's start first with the longer extensions. They're basically the same thing. This is the Icon one. Has a little bit of a better grip. It's much more, micro machined. Versus this uses some larger ones. Doesn't give it as good of a grip, but they're pretty much the same. This one feels like the Kobalt one, weighs a little bit more than the Icon one, but they feel pretty similar quality. Wouldn't really, worry about either one. Same with these, it's the same deal. The Icon has a little better grip, but otherwise they're pretty much the same for the shorter extensions. And then we have the universal joints. These are actually quite different. All right, Kobalt one here, Harbor Freight's Icon one here, and you can see right off the bat, hold on. The Kobalt one I can shake, and you really can barely do it with the Icon one. The Icon one is also a different design, so there's no exposed pins on this. It is a lot stiffer versus the Kobalt one, which has exposed pins and is way, way easier to bend. I mean, it is like night and day difference on the stiffness of these, but otherwise they're pretty much the same. I mean, mechanically they are the same, method, but this one just has the exposed pins, so they're obviously not from the same manufacturer or anything. But yeah, they're both pretty fine. This one's a bit loose. If you want it to be a bit more stiff, the Icon one is definitely better for that. And then we'll move into the screwdrivers. All right, screwdrivers. Quite different. Icon one's a little bit longer, has a really nice grip for your thumbs. You can get a lot of torque action on that thing, but the Kobalt one is definitely more ergonomic and, won't hurt your hands as much as this one does in the long run. Just holding them, this one feels better, but trying to actually get a lot of torque, this one feels like it can do better. The heads are a little bit different, but they both have the little ball thing to hold stuff in. So yeah, they're both great screwdrivers for what these sets are, but this one's more ergonomic from Kobalt. I would say I probably like that one better, though we'll talk about the case over there in a second. Let's get into that after we talk about the ratchets. So the ratchets are quite different. The Harbor Freight one is smaller, has a nice little flex head. Ratchet's fine though. They both are perfectly fine ratcheting. This one does have the little press, but there's no way to release it. It's just, pull on, pull off, versus this one has a big button. This whole thing is a button to release, which is pretty nice. That feels great. The ratchet's great. This one is obviously by default. The Kobalt one here is longer than the Harbor Freight one. However, the Harbor Freight does come with this extra attachment. This also can hold a bit on the bottom, but also can insert this to the bottom and actually make this longer, and it ends up being longer than the Kobalt one. So this is Kobalt, this is Harbor Freight with the extension. Also can still hold a bit on the bottom with a magnet. This also has a magnet in it, even on that piece. So you can actually make this one longer. Pretty snazzy. And the Harbor Freight is smaller when it's all closed up, and we'll show that a little later on. But now let's talk about the biggest problem with the ratchet on this Kobalt one. This is how it is in there, and you'll notice versus the Icon, I can just easily grab this one, pull it out, much like the bits, super easy to just take out. Everything's easy to get out in this one, right? Over here, there is no way to grab the freaking ratchet. I'm not kidding. They did not design a way to grab it. Now you can get the screwdriver out, with a little finagling. It's also a little hard, but you know it's got a grip. Putting it back in, though, is a pain. Even with that out, you still can't get the freaking ratchet out, dude. Genuinely, I could not get this out with my fingers. I'm not kidding. This is how I got it out for earlier in the video. I basically just pry it up like this, but then it's like stuck in up here, so it goes flying out and hits me in the face. I'm not kidding. This is pretty much useless in its current state. You can freaking really try like that with the screwdriver out of the way, but it's so stupid of a design. And then getting it back in is a pain. I'm going to take a Dremel and put a little finger slot there. That's my solution to it. If you get this, my suggestion, Dremel that out, put a little finger slot. Also, the screwdriver, what I was talking about. Yeah, it does not freaking go in easily. It feels like I'm going to break something pushing it in. And yeah, these are the same way, you know, just harder to get out, you know, not nearly as nice as these to get out. All right, let's compare the bits now, the bit offerings. So these are the two differences. Let's start over here with Harbor Freight's Icon. We have the Posi-Drive, which this does not have Posi-Drive offerings. We have Phillips, flatheads, and then your Allen keys. It's got more Allen keys, and it's got T10 to T40 torques. These go from T6. You get a little smaller one, but only goes up to T27. Then you got your Phillips. You got your flatheads, and then it also has triple squares, which this does not have triple squares. And then you got a few less Allen key offerings here. And we'll move on now to the sockets. So this is where the Icon really shines as a mechanics kit, in my opinion, for this particular one right here. I remember exactly where it is because I've needed it so many times. This is a 5.5 millimeter socket. It's one you're going to need working on cars eventually. A lot of cars use 5.5 millimeters. My Chevy Express uses it for the blower motor, for instance, which happened to get a wasp nest in it, and I had to fix it literally in a parking lot. And this was what I fixed it with, this exact kit, because this existed in it. Now, that does not exist in the Kobolts. We start from 5 here, and we go all the way to 14. This also goes from 1/8 all the way to 1/2, or ½ inch, I guess. You can call that. And then this goes, I don't even remember, yeah, 3/16 all the way to 9/16. So you get a little bit larger there, especially. But this has some smaller ones, you know, whichever one you might need more. You need smaller, this goes smaller, doesn't go as large. This one doesn't go as small, but it goes larger by 1. So, yeah. Then these are like your little bit holders. So those just go in the screwdriver and all that, or the ratchet to hold the bits. Now we're going to close them on up and compare the sizes. So they are pretty close in size, but the Kobalt one is just a little bit larger. You can kind of see it better from the top. Let's put them side by side. It's just a little larger, not crazy. You know, height wise, they're pretty similar. Kobalt still, this is pretty much smaller slightly in every dimension versus this one. The latching mechanisms, this one is super nice. I remember which way it slides, just opens up easy peasy. I will say that folding bit thing sometimes will get a little stuck, but for the most part it's fine. The screwdriver is also not held as securely in this one, so it might pop out, and you know, that's not a big deal. But you know, just saying differences. This one has a big old slider, which feels nice. Little clunky though, the case like is just a little clunkier, but for the most part totally fine. And then yeah, everything's held in really tightly in this one, minus the sockets is what I was about to say, as one of them literally fell out. But yeah, everything is like press fit in there except for the sockets. They are just on like a square. Now they're mostly harder than that one to get out, but yeah, they are more prone to falling. Versus the Icon one, which the screwdriver is the only thing that falls out. That's what just fell out right there. Everything else is secure. Even the sockets are like really well tight in there. So case wise, this one also is like rubberized kind of feeling. This is just straight up plastic minus this black trim is more rubberized. This is kind of the inverse, honestly. So this is not rubbery, this is rubbery. While this one has the plastic and then rubbery here. I prefer this feeling a little more, so I can just grab it and carry it easier. This still works though. They also send you a sticker with the Kobalt one. But yeah, not being able to get the ratchet out of this one and the lack of a 5mm makes me think this is still better. But if you don't need a 5mm, or you can just throw one in this one, honestly, I would get this one because it's way cheaper. Also, I love the little flex head and the tiny ratchet in this. It's really useful for a lot of spaces. So